The notification pinged at 2:47 a.m., lighting up my phone like a neon sign in the darkness. Melissa's location sharing had glitched again, or so I thought until I saw where it placed her. The Marriott downtown, not her mother's house in Brookfield where she'd supposedly been staying for the past 3 nights. I stared at the screen, my chest tightening like someone had wrapped barbed wire around my ribs. Taking care of Mom after her surgery, she'd said. You know how she gets when she's laid up. Classic Mel. Always the dutiful daughter when it served her purposes. I rolled out of bed, padding to the kitchen in my boxers, phone still glowing in my hand. The coffee maker gurgled to life as I refreshed the app. Still there. Marriott, room 167 according to the precise coordinates. Either Mel had developed a sudden fondness for expensive hotels, or her mother had upgraded from her modest two-bedroom ranch to a downtown suite. The sarcasm felt bitter in my mouth even as I thought it. 15 years of marriage, and it had come to this, checking location apps like some paranoid stalker. But Mel had been different lately, distant, always on her phone, always having to work late at the regional HR office where she'd clawed her way up to director. New clothes, new perfume, new excuses. I texted her. Hope your mom's feeling better. Give her my love. The response came back within minutes. She's sleeping. Long day ahead tomorrow. Love you too. And sure. I poured my coffee and opened my laptop. If Mel was at her mother's house, then I was the Queen of England. And last I checked, I still had all my original equipment. By 6 a.m., I'd made 3 decisions that would change everything. First, I called in sick to work, something I hadn't done in 2 years. Second, I dialed Marty Kowalski, my old college buddy who'd traded his journalism degree for a private investigator's license after his divorce. Third, I started documenting everything. Jack Morton, you son of a bitch. Marty's gravelly voice crackled through the phone. What's got you calling before sunrise? I need a favor, Marty. The kind that requires a camera and complete discretion. Ah, shit. Not you two. How long you been married? 15 years. That's about right. They usually start wandering around year 12 to 15. Boredom sets in. He paused, and I heard him lighting a cigarette. You sure about this? Sometimes it's better not to know. I'm sure. Marriott downtown, room 167. My wife's supposedly at her mother's house, but her phone says otherwise. Room 167, huh? Specific. I'll be there in an hour. This is gonna cost you though. And Jack? Once I start taking pictures, there's no going back. Take the pictures, Marty. The next 6 hours crawled by like molasses in January. I cleaned the house, organized my workshop, even fixed the leaky faucet in the guest bathroom that had been dripping for months. Anything to keep my hands busy while my mind raced through possibilities. Maybe she really was at her mother's. Maybe the app was wrong. Maybe my phone buzzed at 2:15 p.m. Got your pictures, Marty's text read. You're not gonna like them. 20 minutes later, he sat across from me at Murphy's bar, sliding a manila envelope across the scarred wooden table. His face looked like he'd been chewing glass. Your wife entered the hotel at 11:47 a.m., he said quietly. She wasn't alone. I opened the envelope with steady hands, though my stomach felt like it was full of broken glass. The photos were crystal clear, time-stamped, devastating. Mel walking into the Marriott lobby, laughing at something the man beside her had said. Mel in the elevator, his hand on the small of her back. Mel unlocking room 167, while he kissed her neck. The man was Todd Jensen, TJ to his friends. I knew him from Mel's office Christmas parties. Slick sales consultant, married to some blonde real estate agent, drove a silver Mercedes that he parked like he owned the world. Everything about him screamed expensive cologne and unearned confidence. There's more, Marty said, lighting another cigarette despite the bar's no-smoking policy. Rhonda, the manager, pretended not to notice. They've been meeting there twice a week for the past month. Same room, same routine. He pays cash, she brings lunch from that fancy deli on Elm Street. I studied the photos with the detached interest of a pathologist examining a corpse. Here was my marriage, laid out in glossy 8x10 prints. 15 years reduced to evidence of betrayal. You want to know the real kick in the teeth? Marty continued. She's been charging the hotel lunches to your joint credit card. Apparently she considers infidelity a business expense. That's when I laughed. Not a bitter laugh or a broken laugh, but genuine amusement. Because of course she had. Of course Melissa Morton, who color-coded our grocery lists and tracked every penny we spent, would find a way to make adultery tax deductible. Jack, you okay, buddy? I'm perfect, I said, sliding the photos back into the envelope. Absolutely perfect. And I was. For the first time in months, I knew exactly what I was dealing with. No more wondering, no more second-guessing myself. Mel had made her choice, and now I'd make mine. "What do you need me to do?" Marty asked. "Keep watching. Document everything. I want dates, times, receipts if you can get them. And Marty, next time they're in that room together, I want you to call me." "What are you planning?" I finished my beer and dropped a 20 on the table. "I'm planning to give my wife exactly what she deserves." The call came 3 days later, while I was replacing the brake pads on my truck. Marty's voice cut through the morning air like a buzzsaw. "They're heading up to the room now. You want me to?" "No. Keep watching, but don't interfere. This one's mine." I wiped the grease from my hands and reached for the manila envelope I'd prepared the night before. Inside were divorce papers, printed on expensive letterhead from the best family attorney in the city, along with copies of every photo Marty had taken. I'd also included a little surprise: printouts of all the hotel charges to our joint credit card, highlighted in yellow with a sticky note that read, "Thanks for funding your own divorce." The process server was a thin woman named Janet, who looked like a librarian, but had the tenacity of a pit bull. I'd paid her extra to make sure the papers were delivered with maximum impact. "Room 167, Marriott downtown," I told her. "Wait until both parties are present, then knock. The woman will try to claim she's someone else. Don't let her." "Honey, I've been doing this for 12 years. They all try to run. What's your backup plan if they don't answer?" "They'll answer. Trust me." I was right. At 2:43 p.m., my phone exploded with calls. Melissa's name flashed on the screen 17 times in the first 10 minutes. I let every single one go to voicemail. The text started next. "What the hell is this? Call me right now. We need to talk. Jack, please." I poured myself a coffee and listened to the voicemails. The progression from outrage to panic to desperate pleading was almost artistic in its predictability. By the fifth message, Mel was crying. By the 10th, she was bargaining. "Jack, please. It's not what you think. I can explain everything. Just call me back. Please, baby. We can work this out." But my favorite was message number 14, where her true colors finally showed. "You can't just ambush me like this. I have rights. I'm calling my lawyer." "Good. Let her call." I'd already spoken to 3 attorneys, chosen the most ruthless one, and documented everything. Mel was about to discover that 15 years of marriage to a project manager had taught me a few things about preparation and execution. My phone rang again. Unknown number this time. "Listen, you son of a bitch," a male voice snarled. "You don't know who you're messing with." "TJ?" I kept my voice conversational. "How's the hotel business treating you?" Silence. Then, "This is between you and your wife. Leave me out of it." "Funny thing about adultery, Todd. It requires 2 people. You inserted yourself into my marriage, literally. So now you get to deal with the consequences. You can't prove anything." I laughed. "Room 167, Marriott downtown. Twice a week for the past month. Cash payments. Lunch from Rossetti's Deli, usually the Italian combo with extra peppers. You have a birthmark on your left shoulder that looks like Texas, and you wear blue boxer briefs with a hole in the waistband. Want me to keep going?" The line went dead. Within an hour, I'd blocked Mel's number, changed the locks on our house, and called our joint credit card companies to report the cards stolen. Technically not true, but close enough. I also transferred half our savings to a new account in my name only, perfectly legal according to my attorney. The real fun started when I got home from work the next day. Mel's car was in the driveway, but she couldn't get inside. She was sitting on the front steps like a lost puppy, makeup smeared, still wearing the same clothes from the hotel encounter. "Jack, please," she said as I walked past her to my own front door. "We need to talk." "No, we don't." I unlocked the door and stepped inside. "You can't just lock me out of my own house." "Actually, I can. The deed's in both our names, which means I have every right to change the locks for security purposes. Your attorney will explain it to you." She tried to follow me inside, but I closed the door firmly. Through the window, I watched her pound on the wood and scream my name. Mrs. Wilkes, our elderly neighbor, peered over the fence with undisguised interest. By tomorrow, the whole neighborhood would know. Perfect. That evening, I made myself a steak dinner and opened a bottle of wine I'd been saving for our anniversary. While I ate, I planned phase 2 of my campaign. Mel had humiliated me with her lies and deception. Now it was time to return the favor. I started with her office. A quick call to her supervisor, Linda Hartwell, expressing concern about Mel's recent behavior and erratic schedule. I didn't accuse her of anything directly, just planted seeds of doubt. She's been under a lot of stress lately, I said, injecting just the right amount of worried husband into my voice. I'm concerned she might be making some poor decisions. I know how much her job means to her. Is everything all right at home, Jack? Well, Linda, that's complicated. I probably shouldn't say anything, but I let the pause hang there like bait on a hook. What is it? She's been having some personal issues, spending money we don't have, lying about where she's been. I found hotel charges on our credit card that I can't account for. I'm worried she might be having some kind of breakdown. It wasn't even a lie. Mel was definitely having a breakdown, just not the kind Linda would expect. Next, I called Mel's best friend, Shelley, who'd been covering for her affairs with convenient alibis. Shelley, it's Jack. I'm worried about Mel. Has she said anything to you about problems at work? Or maybe other issues? Shelley's voice got tight. What kind of issues? The kind that end marriages, I said quietly. I found some things, Shelley. Things that make me question everything I thought I knew about my wife. If you know something, now would be a good time to tell me. I don't know what you're talking about. Room 167. Does that mean anything to you? The sharp intake of breath told me everything I needed to know. Shelley had been in on it from the beginning. Jack, save it. Just remember, when this all comes out, and it will come out, people are going to remember who knew and who didn't, who was loyal and who wasn't. I hung up before she could respond. By 10 p.m., I'd made 8 strategic phone calls, each one designed to isolate Mel from her support network and raise questions about her judgment. I didn't spread lies. I didn't need to. The truth was damaging enough. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. I texted back. You're right. It's just getting started. The next morning brought fresh chaos. Mel had apparently spent the night in her car because she was waiting in my driveway when I left for work. She looked like hell, makeup smeared, hair disheveled, wearing the same wrinkled clothes from yesterday. Jack, please. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I walked past her to my truck. You had 15 years of 5 minutes. You used them all up in room 167. It didn't mean anything. It was just what? Just sex? Just lies? Just you charging your affair to our joint credit card? I turned to face her, and she flinched at whatever she saw in my expression. Just you making me look like a fool while you played house with some middle-aged pretty boy? It wasn't like that. What was it like, Mel? Enlighten me. She opened her mouth, then closed it. We both knew there was no good answer to that question. I want to come home, she said finally. You are home. This is it. Your car, parked in a driveway you no longer have access to, begging your husband to forgive you for screwing another man. Welcome home. I drove away, leaving her standing there like a scarecrow in designer clothes. At work, I threw myself into a kitchen renovation project, taking out my frustration on stubborn tiles and crooked cabinets. My crew chief, Charlie Brennan, watched me attack a wall with a sledgehammer like I was trying to dig to China. Easy there, Jack. That wall's already dead. Charlie was a good guy, rough around the edges, built like a beer barrel, but loyal as a golden retriever. He'd been through his own divorce 3 years ago and recognized the signs. Woman trouble, he asked during lunch break. You could say that. The wife. The ex-wife. She just doesn't know it yet. Charlie nodded sagely. They never do. Think they can have their cake and eat it too, then act all surprised when you take the cake away. He cracked open a beer. You need backup? What kind of backup? The kind where you accidentally run into her boyfriend and accidentally explain how things work in the real world. Haha, I grinned. I might take you up on that. Haha. That afternoon, Marty called with an update. Your wife's been busy. She tried to get into the hotel room again, but management shut her down. Apparently, Loverboy's been banned from the property after he caused a scene in the lobby. What kind of scene? The kind where he screamed at the desk clerk about harassment and threatened to sue everybody from the hotel manager to the mayor. Real classy guy. Where is he now? His office, probably planning his next move. Word is his wife got an interesting phone call yesterday. Something about her husband's creative use of hotel rooms. I hadn't made that call, but I had a pretty good idea who had. Shelley, covering her own ass by throwing TJ under the bus. Honor among thieves indeed. Keep watching him, I told Marty. I have a feeling he's about to do something stupid. Haha, I was right. At 6:30 p.m., TJ showed up at my house. I was in the garage, working on my truck's transmission, when his silver Mercedes pulled into my driveway like he owned the place. He got out wearing a $1,000 suit and an expression that suggested he thought he was the star of his own action movie. Everything about him screamed money and entitlement, from his perfectly styled hair to his Italian leather shoes. "We need to talk," he announced, like he was doing me a favor. I wiped my hands on a shop rag and studied him. Up close, TJ was smaller than he looked in Marty's photos. Maybe 5'10", soft around the middle, with the kind of tan that came from a bottle. His confidence was all surface. Scratch it, and you'd find insecurity underneath. "Talk about what?" I kept my voice neutral. "This situation with Melissa. It's gotten out of hand." "Has it?" "Look, I know you're upset, but..." "Upset?" I laughed. "TJ, I'm not upset. Upset is when someone cuts you off in traffic or your team loses the playoffs. This is something else entirely." He shifted uncomfortably. "What do you want?" "Want? I don't want anything from you. You've already given me everything I need." "I don't understand. You gave me clarity." For months, I thought I was losing my mind. My wife was distant, distracted, lying about where she'd been. I started questioning myself, wondering what I'd done wrong. Then I found out about you, and everything made sense. TJ's face was turning red. "She's not happy, you know. She hasn't been happy for years. And you thought you'd fix that? You thought you'd ride in on your white Mercedes and save her from her boring life with her boring husband? Something like that. How's that working out for you?" His jaw tightened. "This isn't over." "You're absolutely right. It's not over, not even close." I stepped closer, and he backed up against his car. "See, TJ, you made a mistake. You thought you were dealing with some clueless husband who'd roll over and take it. But I'm not rolling over. I'm just getting started." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm educating you. This is what happens when you mess with the wrong person's life. You don't get to walk away clean." He tried to push past me, but I didn't move. We stood there for a moment, two men who'd never liked each other, separated by about 18 inches and a whole lot of bad blood. "You don't know who you're dealing with," he said. "Sure I do. You're Todd Jensen, age 42, sales consultant at Morrison & Associates. You live at 1247 Maple Street with your wife Karen and your two kids, Jessica and Michael. You drive a 2019 Mercedes the 100th class with a small dent in the rear bumper from where you backed into a fire hydrant last month. You have a birthmark on your left shoulder. You bite your nails when you're nervous, and you're about to find out what happens when you screw with the wrong man's wife." His face went white. "How do you know all that?" "I'm a project manager. TJ, I manage projects. Right now, you're my project." I stepped aside and let him get in his car. He fumbled with the keys, started the engine, and backed out of my driveway like his ass was on fire. Through my garage window, I saw Mrs. Wilkes watching from her kitchen. She waved at me and gave a thumbs up. Tomorrow, the whole neighborhood would know that TJ Jensen had come to my house and left looking like a whipped dog. Perfect. The next morning brought unexpected reinforcements. I was drinking coffee on my back deck when Mrs. Wilkes appeared at the fence separating our yards. She was 70-something, built like a sparrow, and had the sharpest eyes in the neighborhood. "Morning, Jack," she said, holding a plate of homemade cookies. "Thought you might need some comfort food." "Thanks, Mrs. Wilkes. That's very kind. Saw that fancy car in your driveway last night. Looked like the same one that's been parked down the street a few times lately." She handed me the cookies and fixed me with a knowing look. "Man was watching your house. Seemed real interested in your comings and goings." I nearly choked on my coffee. "He was watching my house?" "Oh yes, usually parked behind the Hendersons' big oak tree. Thought nobody would notice. But I notice everything, Jack. Comes from being old and having nothing better to do than watch the neighborhood." This was news. TJ had been stalking me, probably trying to figure out my schedule so he could continue his affair without interference. The thought of him lurking in my neighborhood, watching my house like some suburban predator, made my blood boil. "How long has this been going on?" I asked. "Couple weeks, maybe more. Always the same time, right after you left for work. He'd sit there for maybe 20 minutes, then drive off." She leaned closer to the fence. "Jack, honey, I don't know what's going on between you and Melissa, but that man's got bad intentions written all over him." "You're right about that, Mrs. Wilkes. Anything I can do to help?" I looked at her weathered face and saw genuine concern. Mrs. Wilkes had been widowed for 10 years, lived alone, and treated the neighborhood like her extended family. She'd probably seen more drama from her kitchen window than most people saw in a lifetime. "Actually, there might be. If you see him around here again, would you mind taking some pictures? Just for my records." "Honey, I've got a whole camera full of pictures already. That man's been documented more thoroughly than a crime scene." She grinned. What kind of fool do you take me for? God, I loved this woman. At work, Charlie approached me during the morning break with a shit-eating grin on his face. Heard you had a visitor last night, he said. News travels fast. My wife's book club meets with Mrs. Patterson, who lives next door to Mrs. Wilkes. Apparently some fancy boy came to your house and left looking like he'd seen a ghost. Something like that. You need that backup yet? I considered it. TJ was escalating, getting desperate. Desperate people did stupid things, and stupid things sometimes got dangerous. Maybe. But nothing illegal, Charlie. I'm not going to jail over this. Of course not. But there's legal, and then there's educational. That afternoon, I got a call from Linda Hartwell, Mel's supervisor. Jack, I hate to bother you, but I'm concerned about Melissa. She called in sick today, but when I drove past the Marriott on my way to lunch, I could have sworn I saw her car in the parking lot. Interesting. Mel was supposed to be devastated, but she was still trying to salvage her affair. Some people never learned. I'm concerned too, Linda. She's been making some questionable decisions lately. Is there anything I should know? From a professional standpoint, I mean. Well, there might be some personal issues affecting her judgment. I'd hate for it to impact her work performance. What kind of personal issues? The kind that might involve misuse of company resources, time, expense accounts, that sort of thing. Linda's silence spoke volumes. In the HR world, misuse of company resources was a career killer. I see. Well, thank you for the heads up, Jack. I'll keep an eye on things. And after we hung up, I felt a twinge of something that might have been guilt. Might have been. Then I remembered Mel charging her affair lunches to our credit card, and the feeling passed. That evening, Marty called with more intelligence. Your boy TJ's getting sloppy, he reported. Showed up at the hotel again today, tried to book the same room. When they told him it wasn't available, he caused another scene. Security had to escort him out. What about Mel? She was there too, sitting in her car in the parking lot like some kind of stalker. They're both losing it, Jack. Whatever you did, it's working. Good. Keep watching them. I want to know every move they make. You got it. But Jack, be careful. Desperate people do desperate things. As if on cue, my doorbell rang. Through the peephole, I saw Shelley standing on my front porch, looking nervous as a cat in a dog pound. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. Shelley, Jack, we need to talk. Do we? It's about Melissa. She's not doing well. I imagine not. Shelley shifted from foot to foot. She was a thin woman in her 30s, all sharp angles and nervous energy. Everything about her screamed guilty conscience. She's staying at my place, she said. She doesn't have anywhere else to go. That's very generous of you, considering. Considering what? Considering you've been helping her lie to me for months. Her face flushed red. I never. Room 167, Shelley. You knew about it. You covered for her. You helped her make a fool out of me. She's my friend, and I'm her husband, or was. Funny how that works out. Shelley looked like she was about to cry. She made a mistake, Jack. People make mistakes. Mistakes are accidental. Mel's affair was a choice, a series of choices, made over and over again for months. With your help, what do you want me to say? Nothing. There's nothing you can say that I want to hear. I started to close the door, but she put her hand against it. She loves you, she said desperately. No, she doesn't. She loves the idea of being married, the security, the image, but she doesn't love me. If she did, she never would have ended up in that hotel room. Everyone deserves a second chance. Everyone deserves the consequences of their choices. I closed the door, leaving Shelley standing on my porch. Through the window, I watched her walk back to her car, shoulders slumped in defeat. Phase 3 was about to begin. 2 days later, everything came to a head. Marty called me at work with urgent news. They're planning something, he said. Mel and TJ met at a coffee shop downtown. I couldn't hear everything, but I caught enough. They're going to try to turn this around on you. What do you mean? Domestic abuse. Mel's going to claim you threatened her, maybe roughed her up. TJ's backing her story. They think if they can make you look like the bad guy, it'll take the heat off them. I felt ice water in my veins. A domestic abuse allegation could destroy me, my job, my reputation, everything I'd built. When? Soon, maybe today. Mel's supposed to go to the police this afternoon. Thanks for the warning. Jack, you need to be careful. If she files a complaint, she won't. How can you be sure? Because I'm 3 steps ahead of her. I hung up and made a series of quick phone calls, first to my attorney, then to Charlie, then to Mrs. Wilkes. By 2 p.m., everything was in place. Mel showed up at the police station right on schedule, with Shelley as her backup witness. What she didn't know was that I was already there, sitting in Detective Morrison's office with my attorney and a manila envelope full of evidence. "Let me get this straight," Detective Morrison said, reviewing the photos and documentation I'd provided. "Your wife has been having an affair, and now she's claiming you threatened her?" That's correct. I believe she's trying to deflect attention from her own behavior." "And you have proof of the affair?" "Extensive proof. Photos, credit card records, witness statements. My private investigator has been documenting everything." Morrison nodded. "We'll need to investigate her claims, of course. But given the circumstances—" "Of course. I understand completely." 20 minutes later, Mel was escorted into an interview room, expecting sympathy and immediate action. Instead, she found herself facing questions about her own behavior, confronted with evidence of her affair, and watching her story fall apart in real time. I waited in the lobby with my attorney, watching through the glass partition as Mel's confident expression crumbled into panic. Shelley sat beside me, looking like she wanted to disappear into the floor. "This isn't what we planned," she whispered. "I'm sure it isn't." When Mel finally emerged from the interview room, her face was streaked with tears and her hands were shaking. She saw me sitting there and stopped dead in her tracks. "You son of a bitch," she hissed. "Careful, Mel. There are police officers present. Wouldn't want to say something you'd regret." Detective Morrison appeared behind her. "Mrs. Morton, you're free to go, but I'd strongly advise you to reconsider any future allegations unless you have substantial evidence to support them." Mel looked between the detective and me, understanding dawning in her eyes. She'd walked into a trap, and there was no way out. "This isn't over," she said. "Actually, it is." That evening, I sat on my back deck with a beer and my phone, scrolling through the messages that had been pouring in all day. Word of Mel's failed police gambit had spread through our social circle like wildfire, and the court of public opinion was decidedly not in her favor. My phone rang. TJ's number. "You think you're so smart," he said without preamble. "Smart enough. This is far from over." "Is it?" "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks pretty finished. Your wife knows about the affair, your reputation is shot, and my wife just made a false police report that's going to follow her around for years. How exactly do you see this playing out in your favor?" Silence. "Here's what's going to happen, TJ. You're going to stay away from my wife, stay away from my house, and stay away from me. You're going to disappear from our lives completely. And if you don't, I'm going to make sure everyone in this city knows exactly what kind of man you are." "You can't." "I can. I will. Try me." I hung up and blocked his number. The next morning brought the final piece of the puzzle. Linda Hartwell called to inform me that Mel had been suspended from her job pending an investigation into her conduct and use of company resources. "I'm sorry it came to this, Jack," she said. "But given everything that's come to light, I understand. You have to protect the company. What will you do now?" I looked around my house, not our house anymore, and felt something like peace settling over me. "I'm going to rebuild. Starting fresh." "Good for you. You deserve better than this." She was right. I did deserve better. And now, finally, I was going to get it. That afternoon, the divorce papers were finalized. Mel signed them without contest, probably on advice from her attorney who'd explained exactly how badly she'd lose if the case went to trial. I kept the house, the truck, and most of our assets. Mel got her car and whatever dignity she had left, which wasn't much. The last time I saw her, she was loading boxes into Shelley's car, moving out of the neighborhood in disgrace. She looked up as I pulled into my driveway, and for a moment, our eyes met. I didn't feel anger anymore. I didn't feel hurt or betrayal or even satisfaction. I felt nothing at all, which was exactly what she deserved. She'd made her choices. Now she got to live with them. As for TJ, I heard through the neighborhood grapevine that his wife had filed for divorce and taken half his assets. His reputation in the business community was destroyed, and he'd been forced to relocate to another city to find work. Charlie summed it up best. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And 6 months later, I was sitting in Murphy's bar with Marty, celebrating the completion of my kitchen renovation project. The house felt like mine again, clean and organized and free of lies. "And so what's next?" Marty asked. "Next, I live my life, the way I want to live it." "Any regrets?" I thought about it. Did I regret the marriage, the wasted years, the betrayal? "No," I said finally. "No regrets. Everything that happened led me here, and here's not a bad place to be." Marty raised his beer. "To new beginnings." To getting exactly what you deserve. We drank to that, and to the simple truth that actions have consequences, even when you think nobody's watching, especially when you think nobody's watching.